Between concrete walls, there's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
Welcome to everyone to the live stream. I'm very happy to be here with you. I realized just as I was starting the stream that I had some food in my teeth from dinner that was going to drive me crazy all stream, and decided the right thing to do was to take care of that, and now I have. I denied you guys the close-up of me flossing. Somewhere out there, Bob Rugi is a happy man. Somewhere out there, Kebab FPV is a happy man because I flossed. You know, I'll tell you a little story. I always like to start these live streams off with a little story, a little personal anecdote, just to get us going. That's why you show up for the streams, right? A little while back, I like to think I have okay dental hygiene. I don't brush and floss every day, but I go to the dentist, I get regular cleanings, I get regular checkups. Floss every night? Nah, I don't know about that, but go get a cleaning every 6 months? Sure, why not? They'll call you and they'll bother you about it. Make you feel guilty. And after a while, my hygienist was like, well, your gums are getting a little worse, your gum pockets, you got some stuff going on. Let's do this laser treatment. So they got this treatment they do where they shoot your gum pockets with a laser. That's what they told me they were doing. I don't know. I was just sitting there. They were doing stuff in my mouth, and they were like, oh, yeah, it's a laser. And apparently this laser, promotes healing. And so after I got the laser treatment, my gum pockets got smaller. And that means my gums were healthier. Oh, I was like, that's good. And then, a year later, they're just like, oh, no, your gum pockets are bad again. I was like, well, shoot. So we did the laser thing again. And long story short, she finally she said to me, "Oh, look, we're gonna have you schedule you with the oral surgeon because your gum pockets, we don't think they're getting better." And so I went and the oral surgeon looked at me and he looked at my gums and he was like, "Well, we think you need this surgery. We're going to do this surgery where we take some gum tissue and we like do some, I don't know. I'm not going to like gross you out with the details, but it was oral surgery that involved taking some gum tissue from one place, putting it in another place. And it was going to be like $3,000. And I walked out of there, and I have a tendency, like if I go into the car mechanic and they say, "Well, man, your car is broken, you need this," my first reaction is to believe them. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I don't always go with that reaction, right? Because I don't want to get ripped off, and but my first reaction is, well, I guess you're the expert, you would know. So the oral surgeon says I need this oral surgery that's going to cost $3,000. And my first thought was, "Oh, I guess I got to," but then my second thought was, no, we're not, I don't like the sound of that. Number one, it's really expensive. And number two, this whole, we're going to take tissue from here and put it up here. That's my mouth. And I went home and I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to floss my teeth morning and night, every day, religiously, for the next 3 months. And when I go in for my next cleaning, I'm going to ask my hygienist to check my gum pockets and see what she says. And sure enough, turns out I didn't need oral surgery. Turns out I just needed to do the damn thing that the dentists always tell you to do, which is brush and floss twice a day. And all of a sudden it got better. And I'm happy that I didn't have to get surgery, but I'm annoyed that they were right the whole time. Charles Thompson, my first reaction is to believe them, but I know that that's gullible, so I don't go with that reaction. I'm just saying, when a figure of authority says to me, here's what you need to do, especially when it's a doctor and it relates to my health, like my car I know a little bit about, but my gums, what do I know about my gums? Surgeon says I need surgery on my gums. Who am I to say no? Well, it's my gums and it's my wallet, so anyway.
I find I have the complete opposite immediate reaction. I have to go the other direction sometimes.
Yeah, what do you mean? Tell me about that, Blunty.
Like if somebody says you need back surgery, I'm like, I definitely don't need back surgery. There's no way I need back surgery. That's ridiculous. Why would you cut my back open? I'm this age. Like I immediately come up with 18 reasons why he's got to be wrong, and he probably just wants my money. And then I have to go like, okay, maybe he actually does. You know, like, you know what I mean? I have to step it back the other way.
Now I have a reaction like that before I go to the doctor. So there's a thing that I do that drives my wife crazy, where something is wrong. And she says, why don't you go to the doctor? And I'm like, oh, they don't know. They don't know what's wrong with. They're just going to be like, oh, I don't know. They're just going to prescribe me something, or they don't know. And I talk myself out of going to the doctor on the assumption that the doctor's an idiot, just like I am. But then once I get there, I tend to believe them, mostly. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did they tell you had to have back surgery at one point?
Yep.
Yeah.
I have like 11 herniations across my back. And then
how many vertebrae do you have?
I don't know, but I can. It's like C2, C3, C4, C3, C4, C4, C5, C5. Anyway, it's a lot of them. But then when you actually look up research on people who have herniations, like you can have like 60% of people that weren't complaining of pain when they had an MRI had herniations. Yeah. So then it's like, oh, you came in and you complained about pain, and then we did a back thing, and then we saw herniation, so that must be the reason you have pain, and then it went no farther, right?
Right.
So it's like, I don't know. I'm always on the other side of it. I'm always a skeptic, and then I have to convince myself that they might be right.
Yeah. Yep. I go, oh, you must be right. I guess I need to do this, and then I fight myself the other direction. Yeah. Dr. Dave says, I'm just cracking up that actually flossing made his gums get better. What a hot take. That's kind of the point of the story, Dave. I mean, I felt really chagrined after all this time of kind of going, yeah, floss 2 times a day. Thanks, doctor, dentist, what the hell? And then, like, after all this, and by the way, I've had reasonably good gum health the whole time. So I wasn't completely out of, like, yeah, okay, I don't need to, I'm all right. After all this time. That's what happens. When you're young, you're like, all this advice, about your health. It doesn't matter because you're young. Your body is just, you have these reserves of strength and well-being. Then for me, at least, the older I get, the more it's like, oh, I guess I need to do yoga every morning or I won't be able to stand up. Fuck. And it's only going to get worse from here. But anyway, on that note, Blunty, what do you say we start the live stream?
All right, and that's a reminder to ask people. People got to ask questions.
Yeah,
you're here to answer questions.
I am here to answer questions. You guys will ask the questions. Here's the deal. I'm going to take your questions here in the chat. Blunty is going to queue them up. Here's the queue. It's already starting to fill up. Great time to get into the queue. I'll be taking your questions from the YouTube chat, of course. I'll be taking your questions here. These folks here are my patrons over in the Discord. And what the hell are you guys talking about? What do you think of this tattoo? Is the idea that it sort of makes your hair growing in look like a full head of hair? I mean, personally, I solved that problem by just trying to, like, shave my head and not worry about it. I don't know. When I was in my 30s, I was visiting my dad, and he had some hair coloring and some what's that shit you put on your scalp to make your bald hair come back? Minoxidil. Said something, and so he was using something to get his bald hair to grow back in and coloring his gray hair. And I kind of make it a little, come on, yeah. And he was like, oh, you'll see when you're my age, you'll understand. And I mean, there are times in my life when things like that have turned out to be true, but this wasn't one of them. When I noticed, like, there was a time when I was like, oh yeah, my hair on top is getting pretty thin and my scalp's receding. I was like, and then I was just like, fuck it, I'm bald now. That's it. And I grew a beard, so I've never been, it's just too much trouble. But anyway, let's take questions about FPV. Stop talking about my personal health. Mupshot wants to know, here's what the live stream is actually going to be like. Mupshot wants to know, sent email earlier, how do I reset the date timestamp in Walksnail VTX? All files have 1999 instead of today's date. So Mupshot, I'm going to start by telling you I don't know the answer to this. And I want to be clear about that, because then everything I say, since it's a live stream, since you asked, I'm not just going to say, oh no, and then just move on. I'm going to try and bullshit something and entertain you guys and waste your time. I mean, spend your time learning good things. I wasn't aware that the Walksnail VTX ever had the correct date, but you're telling me that it did. Is there somewhere in the menu where you can change the date, like in the goggles menu? I'm just hoping if I talk about this long enough, the chat will tell me that it's something that there's, oh yeah, here's where that option is. I wasn't aware that the DVR ever had the correct date, to be honest with you. So, and now maybe the chat will jump in. No? Okay. I see nothing that tells me the date. Those, like, I've never really looked at Walksnail to, like, pay attention to the date code. I just assume that all DVRs don't record the date correctly because I'm so used to them not doing it. So that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's right. Is this man going bald? Who could say? Oh, I know I do. I see a little bit of, see, it's time to just shave your head. Just do it. Just get rid of it all. Fuck it. So Mupshot, if the chat hasn't helped you by now, then we don't know the answer either. Good luck with that. I'll tell you what I do. I will give you a piece of, here's a piece of actually helpful information. You wait long enough, eventually I'll get there. What I do, because I don't trust the date and time code on my cameras, Like my GoPros are constantly saying, set the date and time. And I'm like, whatever, 12/1/99, just can I please use you? What I do is each project gets a name. Like this is the footage for my upcoming review of the GetBarsC Moz 7. And then in the footage folder, it's divided into segments, if you will. So 01 is me sitting at the bench doing the intro of the video. Okay. 02 is when I went out to fly. 03 is the conclusion of the video after I came back in from flying. Okay. And then within each of those little segments, each camera, or another way to think about it, each SD card gets its own folder. So at this point, it doesn't matter what the date and time was on the file, because I don't trust that anyway. What I know is that this is the Moz 7 review, this is the flight testing, and here are each of the cameras from the flight testing, and all of these folders are from the same, these all go together, right? This was all recorded in one group. And so I can put this together and reconstruct it. And this was the next, see, I wouldn't, if I went from outside flying to coming back into the bench, I would never put those files in the same folder with each other. I would always split those out because they don't like go together. They weren't recorded at the same time. And so that's how I keep track of footage, even very, very complicated footage from like things like Rampage or whatever. What you have to do though is it's very important that you stay up on it. So if I go to an event like Rampage, every night back in my bedroom, wherever that is, in a hotel or an Airbnb or a dorm room or whatever, every night I'm taking that footage and I'm offloading it. And I'm like, and so in that case, I might say Rampage 2023, Saturday, you know, GoPro 1, GoPro 2, GoPro 3, or maybe I would divide it out even more. And that's how I approach that. Anyway, I'm going to guess at this point, Blunty, has anyone answered the question, Blunty?
Chad is suggesting that there's no RTC battery on the VTX, so there's no way it could know the date.
Do the Dominator goggles have an RTC battery?
I'm not sure, but I believe people are saying when you plug in, there's a new date each time. But I don't know that the goggles would report the time to the VTX to put on the DVR, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, how could the VTX? He said the VRX, right? VRX is what he said. How do I reset the date timestamp in the VRX? So these would be DVR files in the VRX. It's plausible that the VRX has a real-time clock and a battery, but people are saying that it doesn't. He says that mid-August he went from correct date time to 1999. So, Mupshot, there is at least plausibly a mechanism whereby the flight controller could get real-time clock from GPS. The flight controller could theoretically communicate that to the video transmitter and the video transmitter back to the VRX. That's like, I don't think that mechanism exists, but what I wonder is, D. Campdell says the VRX does have a real-time battery. Maybe a real-time battery died. But where would it get that information? Yeah. All right. Well, that's the amount of time I think we're going to spend on this, because I don't think we're actually getting closer to an answer. But if anyone does figure it out, let us know, and we will definitely pass it back. Steve Tricks wants to know, I have a flight controller with a broken USB port. Can an FTDI adapter be used to change Betaflight settings? Steve Tricks, the short answer is yes. However, the long answer is yes. I love that joke. The short answer is yes. The longer answer is, Steve, that you need in the Betaflight ports tab, you must have MSP turned on one of the UARTs, because MSP is what is used to configure the flight controller. So, for example, if you have a digital video transmitter and you're using MSP to talk to the digital video transmitter, you are in luck. All you have to do is disconnect the digital video transmitter, connect the FTDI adapter to that same UART, and then power up the flight controller, and you should be able to connect with Betaflight Configurator and configure it. But if you don't have, what if you don't have MSP enabled on any UART? Now your life is much more difficult. However, there is a way. If you go into the firmware flasher, hang on. If you do show release, no, if you do development, let's see. No, that's not right. No, Blunty, where is the, damn it. Where are the USB recovery files, Blunty? I know those used to exist. Where is the...
I think they changed how that works. I don't
We don't
know.
have show unstable versions anymore. There used to be show unstable versions as well as show release candidates. Where did that go? They got rid of it. Well, F you. Well, that's weird. There used to be a USB recovery firmware you could flash that had MSP enabled on a UART that you could then use to configure. I guess it's gone. Is it? Maybe now it's a custom define. Oh, I wonder if that's what they've done. Is there's a custom define that I don't know about, like hashtag USB on port 1, so that there's no longer a need. I don't know, but that method is gone. Oh, well, you're out of luck. Good luck with that.
Other folks are suggesting ELRS pass-through.
Valid if you're using Express LRS. If you're on a version of Betaflight that supports pass-through, yep, that would work. I mean, you'll know it'll either work or it doesn't. Yeah. Good point. That's going to be way easier than an FTDI adapter too, because that'll work on any quad that's using Express LRS. Great. Oh, there's a tough one from Gaming Vids. Gaming Vids says my MMCX connector on my Luminaire Lux VTX broke off. Have you ever tried resoldering the connector with any success? So, Gaming Vids, I haven't resoldered one, but if you look at an MMCX connector, it's one of the easier connectors to solder on. As long as you didn't rip off the pad on the board, there's a good chance that you could fix it. You could just buy a spare or solder it back on. But look carefully to see if it got ripped, if it actually ripped off the pad. If it did, then you're out of luck. Aryaman Varshni wants to know, what's the best 3-inch quad? The Tiny Trainer is an excellent, like, heavier 3-inch quad. The 533 Tiny Trainer is very good. If you're looking for something like a toothpick, the Happy Model Crux 3 is very good. That's a 3-inch or a 3.5. Those are some choices. How do you get better at racing? Aryaman, getting better at racing, everyone I know. So I'm fortunate enough to have known some people who went from being mediocre to being pretty damn good over the course of a year or so. And I can think of a couple people who like just decided I'm going to get good at racing, and they worked their ass off. And then I was like, whoa, you got good. How about that? And the short answer is time. Stick time, practice. There's more to it than practice, because like there's an analogy I like to use that I use a lot when I think about learning skills. I think about music a lot. I have some musical background, and like there's an adage that if all you do is you sit there and you practice scales, playing scales, do 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 do. If you just practice scales for 8 hours a day, you won't be a great musician. You'll just be good at playing scales. So there's more to improving than simply putting in time. But if you don't put in the time, you will not get as good as if you do put in the time. So the first thing you got to do to get better at racing is commit time and spend time. Someone who spends a lot of time practicing and has not very much innate talent is going to get better than someone who has a lot of innate talent and spends very little time practicing, unless they have like an insane amount of innate talent, and really F those people, right? So you gotta put in stick time. You gotta practice, whether that's in the simulator or whether that's in real life. You gotta put in the stick time, and you will get better. You gotta practice with intent. You have to think about the things that you're bad at. So when I teach people how to fly, and I spend a fair amount of time every year teaching rank beginners who have never flown before how to get to like a 3 or a 4 out of 10 on a scale. Like, I'm really good at taking somebody from 0 out of 10 to a 4 out of 10. Once they get to like a 5 or a 6 out of 10, I got a lot less to say, because now they're like as good a pilot as I am. And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't really know how to do that trick. But what I try to do is I try to identify the things that they're bad at, then figure out why they're bad at them. Is there some piece of missing fundamental knowledge that they don't have? And then try to figure out what to make them do to make them learn that skill. So if I notice that someone is having trouble turning, maybe they haven't learned how to put in the right amount of roll and yaw at the same time. And I'll give them an exercise that causes them to kind of focus on that. Or maybe when they move the throttle, they're also accidentally moving the yaw stick. And I'll give them an exercise that helps them focus on isolating that. So you have to practice with intent. You have to identify things that you're bad at, and then find ways to overcome the things that you're bad at. And when it comes to racing, the most basic thing you can do is get a lap timer, go set up a course, and try to go faster around the course. That's it. Mr. Eddie Nunez, I do not ride a one wheel. I have ridden a one wheel. I am able to ride a one wheel with a very small amount of confidence. I enjoy riding it, but also I know that if I rode a one wheel regularly, I would eat it and injure myself before too long. And there's not really anywhere around my house. It's not like I live in the city or on a college campus where you can one wheel to class or one wheel to the store. There's nowhere for me to go on a one wheel except up and down my road. It's kind of pointless. So no, I do not ride a one wheel. Let's see here. Ooh, the flame inside you. This is a great question. Where can I get the wiring used in the O3 wire harness? So this is not the only place you can go to get this, but this is a place you can go to get it. At Race Day Quads, you can get this silicone cable set. Personally, I usually buy the JST SH only version. But if you want one with some Molex connectors and JST SH and JST GH, which is that locking connector, you can get that. But I buy the JST SH that is the plug that is on the air unit, and these are the cables that are on the air unit. And the nice thing is they're pre-terminated. So you just plug them in, you build your cable, and you're ready to go. That's where I would send you. Aaron Reineking wants to know, in the past you've recommended the Drone Tag DRI for remote ID. I know they're working on pass-through for Betaflight. When they get that working, would you still recommend it? So the Drone Tag DRI, let's just pull that up so people know what we're talking about. The Drone Tag DRI. It's a remote ID module. Great. The nice thing about the Drone Tag DRI is that it sits inline between your GPS unit and your flight controller. It passes the GPS signal to the flight controller, and then it uses that GPS data, just sort of snoops on it, and it broadcasts the remote ID information. So it even has an option. It has an option for an external antenna, but it also has an option for an internal antenna, which means that just this little tiny device sitting between the GPS unit that perhaps you already have is all you need. And it's only 49 euros, although you would need a separate GPS unit, which might cost you another 20 bucks, but maybe you already have that. The thing is that this currently is not compatible with Betaflight. I think it's compatible with ArduPilot. I'm not sure, but it's not compatible with Betaflight as of now, and they're working on that. If you had a drone that already had a GPS and it was compatible with Betaflight, then for 49 euros, this would be a pretty good deal.
I believe it is compatible with Betaflight. My last update on that was DRI was compatible. They were working on making BS compatible, or the other way around, where the BS is compatible and they're working on making DRI compatible. And that was like 3 weeks ago. I saw that email, so I'm not sure. I think
it's, well, I'm not sure. I guess it might. Let's say this, unless you can confirm that. Let's say that it might be Betaflight compatible, and if it isn't compatible today, it will be in the future.
Yeah, they're claiming it will be soon. That's if it's not already.
I thought it wasn't yet, but anyway, okay. Sounds like we agree on the fundamentals. Yeah, for 49 euros, the thing is, you would need a separate GPS unit mounted somewhere else, and your wiring would be a little more complicated. But other than that, it seems like a good deal. The one that I have been recommending is the Flight Test Easy ID. The nice thing about the Flight Test Easy ID, you guys can't see this. I've switched back to my screen. The nice thing about the Flight Test Easy ID is that it's completely self-contained. It has 20 millimeter mounting, so you can basically mount it out the back of your quad. In fact, hang on a second. I have a surprise for you. Blunty, you haven't seen this. Oh, I can't walk. I'm falling over. And my chair is missing one of its frickin' wheels because it broke. The base broke. Hang on. So if I turn my chair base wrong, I'll fall over. So here's the Flight Test Easy ID. I have soldered this XT30 on here so I could demo it. It doesn't come with that, as you can see. And this is a mount that a friend of mine made for the QAVS to mount this off the back of the quad, just like any other GPS unit. See, it just hangs off the... Now, it's a little bigger than any other GPS unit, but it certainly is an option for some people. Thought I'd show that to you. So, the nice thing about the Easy ID is that it is completely self-contained. All you do is power it, and it acts as a GPS unit and acts as a remote ID module. And so if you didn't already have a GPS, then that might be a good choice. Stevetrix, you can move it from drone to drone, although you would need to, if you wanted to use it as a GPS unit for your flight controller, you would want to get a connector or some kind of wire harness here, because this is the plug that connects it to your flight controller. And if that was direct soldered, of course, you couldn't move it. But if you don't need to use it as a GPS unit for your flight controller, you can simply power it up. Whoops. You can simply power it up and plug it in. It'd be nice if it was available with like an SH connector, although I'm not sure the spacing on those pins are going to work. It's interesting.
Yeah, I had no input or say on any of that, so.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, various options. Let's see here. Are the TPU prints for the new JB-QAVS on Thingiverse? There aren't new TPU prints for the QAVS because all the TPU prints from the V1 are compatible with the V2, so we didn't have to make any new prints. Yes, they are on Thingiverse. You probably would like to know where they are. They are here. The username is pokey_FPV, and the album is called QAVS Joshua Bardwell Edition Parts. Why am I seeing an advertisement? Why am I seeing... Why have I... Oh, Thingiverse. I hate you so much. Okay, we're moving this whole album over to printables. They are also available, for the record, if you want to buy a print for the JBQAVS, they are available on noozle3d.com. Noozle will print them for you. He does if you don't want to print it yourself for some reason, he does great quality prints. And I believe he also, he'll do it any color you want to. Nice. He also has links to the Pokey FPV album. So Noozle 3D. Let's see. Should be using uBlock Origin, not AdBlock. You can pay them to let your ads through. So Meat City, I don't know about that. I don't see ads. It's the bottom line. I know people said that. I know there was some foofara about AdBlock, but like, I don't see ads. Look, allow some non-intrusive advertising. See how that option is off? Problem solved. This whole, the ad block sold out because you can pay them to let ads through. Yeah, but you just turn this option off and then problem solved. See? Now the problem solved. Anyway, I've used ad block for years. It works for me. uBlock Origin's probably fine. That's what I do, though.
You just saw an ad. That's why people are saying that.
No. I saw an ad because Thingiverse has a pop-up that says, hey, you're blocking our ads. Fuck you. You can't download anything unless you pause your ad blocker. Thingiverse. I didn't see an ad because AdBlock let it through. Do you see that this page has been whitelisted? Because Thingiverse won't let you download STLs unless you let them show you ads. There's nothing AdBlock can do about that. Right. Does that make sense?
Maybe. I don't see that when I go there, but I might be confused about what you're talking about.
You think?
And also there's an ad at the top of the screen.
Yes, there's an ad at the top of the screen because the page is whitelisted.
Right.
The page is whitelisted. Watch, look.
I don't know.
I'm gonna unwhitelist it. Oh, see, the ad's gone.
Right.
Okay, sorry, Blunty.
You're not getting that pop-up though, right? Like that's
watch what happens when I try and download something with an ad blocker. Now it's gonna fuck you. Now it's gonna work. Great. Once upon a time, I got a pop-up from Thingiverse that said, "No, I'm not gonna let you download this thing unless you let me." There we go. It's download all. Yeah, that's it. See, please disable your ad blocker, or sit here and wait to download the files.
Gotcha. So in my case, I think, I don't know. I get uBlock Origin seems to block that by making it think it's showing me an ad.
You're saying that uBlock Origin will fake the website out into thinking you saw the ad.
When I see that screen on my screen, it says, "Why do we show ads on Thingiverse?" at the bottom, like it's showing me an ad, and then the downloading thing pops up for download all.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, if uBlock Origin did that, then that would be a way that they are better than
Sorry, we're really down the rabbit hole.
AdBlock. But anyway, the whole AdBlock can pay to show you ads. Yeah, but you just turn that off by turning this option off, and bing, bang, bong, problem solved. Ghost Branch says it does. That's why it's better. Okay, well, that's worth looking into. Great. I learned about a new ad blocker I should try. I'm not going to try it, though. Oh, interesting. Yeah, look at this. uBlock has faked the website out into thinking you saw the ad. That's cute. All right. I'll keep that in mind. That's not the only website that does that. I was just annoyed at people thinking I saw that ad because AdBlock failed to block it. I saw that ad because I whitelisted the site. AdBlock can successfully block that ad. That's all. Anyway, moving on. Let's oh my god, it's 8:42 and I haven't done any super chats. Blunty. Jesus Christ. Blunty,
Not a
new
big deal.
directive. If it gets to like 8:30 and I haven't done super chats, can you like interrupt me and be like, hey, we should get to some super chats right now?
Sure.
Can we make that a thing?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna feel. I listen to these podcasts, and I like it when the producer interrupts the host to be like, "Hey, it's time to do ads." It feels like you got a real professional operation going on. I don't know. Let's do some super chats. Any ideas on installing a drop hook on a Switch for fishing? Philly Style, thank you for a $2 super chat. I do, Philly Style. I hesitate to give too much instruction on how to design a drone to drop things, because the world in which it used to be that if you had a drone that dropped things, it might be a water balloon or it might be a little man with a parachute, you know. And these days, drones are dropping all kinds of things that aren't really cute or fun or funny. And so when somebody says, can you tell me how to design a drone with a dropper? It'd be kind of like if somebody said, hey, can you tell me how to design a firearm? And I'd be like, I need to know a little bit more about who's getting this information before I engage. So I'm just going to say, you got a servo and there is a mechanism called a dropper that the servo, you know, can disengage and drop the hook. If you do some Google searching, you can find examples of people who've built, you know, RC airplane bomb drop. You can certainly look for that. And it's a fairly standard mechanism. You know, you've just got like a pin that goes through and holds the thing in place, and the servo pulls the pin out and the thing falls, is the gist of it. But that's about as much information as I like to give these days without knowing more about who's receiving the information. Meme FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. Making the switch from DJI RC going to Express LRS with a Radio Master Pocket. Pointers or tips for making the swap. Good luck. There's a learning curve. Be prepared for it to kind of suck and be a little confusing at first. I would start with this video, which is a very basic way of binding Express LRS. Now, you'll notice there's more videos about binding Express LRS. There's too many videos about binding Express LRS. It's easy to get overwhelmed. This video, though, excuse me, I've decided to get the hiccups every live stream now. I don't know why that is. We'll just see how that goes. This video assumes that you have a radio that's already set up with Express LRS 3.0, which the Radio Master Pocket will be. And it assumes... Does it just update the firmware on the receiver? I don't know. This is the simplest way to bind an Express LRS receiver and just get started, and walks you through the very, very basics. And if this works for you, great. It is a 28-minute video. Jesus Christ. Oh, I see. No, it's also installing the receiver. Okay. Good. Okay. It's soldering the receiver in. It's installing a receiver on the quad. It's not just binding. Okay, great. So you would start at about 13 minutes into the video, where the chapter is called About Express LRS Binding. And then if that works for you, great. That'll get you through. There are other videos with more. You guys can't see because I'm zoomed in. Sorry about that. There you go. How do you flash the Radio Master Pocket when there's no target in Express LRS configurator? Aced at FPV, when I started my Radio Master Pocket up in the Express LRS Lua script, it shows the target name at the top of the screen. If I remember correctly, it had the Zorro target. So I'm pretty sure that it takes the Zorro target, although it will eventually have a target of its own.
Are we talking about the Pocket?
Yeah.
I just helped somebody with a Pocket, and they got shipped with a Pocket target. It looked like it was built from the. I was guessing it was built from the Nightly. Because there's obviously not one in there. But my assumption was because I saw there was 2.10 PR for the pocket, I assume they got a pocket target because it was flashed with a nightly.
Oh, they're going to get a pocket target, but hang on. Am I crazy? No. At the very top of the screen. Ha, see? You can see. It says Radio Master Zorro. Okay, fine. I'll refocus my camera.
Interesting. Yeah, they just started shipping them, I would guess then, or they shipped the new ones, the one people are getting with the pocket target.
So my pocket has a Radio Master Zorro target. Now my camera will be out of focus forever. There we go.
I don't think there's a pocket target in 2.9 though, right? Pacific Northwest. I think it's in 2.10. Yeah, it's nightly.
Okay.
Correct.
So either flash the nightly. Wait, 2.9? Aren't we up to 3.3?
No, that's ELRS. We're talking about.
HTX. HTX. Oh, I see.
HTX 2.9 does not have a target for the pocket, but there is one in the main. Yeah, but in the nightly.
He was asking about flashing his bind phrase, so he's talking about the Express ELRS target. Although that's good information.
Oh, I see.
He was asking about the bind phrase.
Gotcha.
Right. So the Express ELRS target is the Zorro, until eventually I'm sure they'll come up with their own target for it. But it seems like the Zorro will work. Blunty, I saw a question. It's not a super chat. But Mike Bergman said, I can't help but dislike drone fishing. I think it's lame. No offense to anyone here. Now, Blunty, I know you fish, and I thought you might have an opinion on that. And I always like to get you talking about fishing or one of your hobbies because I always find it really fascinating. So first of all, would you mind telling people what is drone fishing for those who maybe are like, how do you fish with a drone?
I think there's different methods of drone fishing, but typically it's the same thing as like using an RC boat. You just attach a line to it. You take the line out past the surf and you drop it so that you don't have to cast past the surf where you couldn't physically cast from shore.
Right. So you're talking about like in the ocean. You're trying to, yeah. I mean, at that point, you're just doing something that's physically impossible. It's not like you're cheating. It's like you want to fish in the ocean from the shore. There's no way a human could cast their line that far. So the only way to get the hook out past the breakers is to use a vehicle like a drone or a boat. Yeah.
In Florida, a lot of people use boats. There's boats that are meant for it, little RC boats that are meant to do it.
So you wouldn't drone fish in a lake where you could just cast wherever you wanted.
I can't imagine what purpose it would be. Like, why would a drone be any better than anything else? It's just making noise and rippling the water if it's close enough, and like you're not going to spot fish with it. So like, I can't imagine what the purpose would be.
Right. So you don't agree that drone fishing is lame? You would say it's. I mean,
if we're talking about using it to drop past the surf, then no, I don't think it's lame.
If you're somehow think that using it to like, instead of angling and like casting the hook right where it needs to be, you've just decided to take a drone out and drop it on the fish that are no longer there because the drone scared them away. That's lame. I think we would agree that that's lame.
Sure. Yes.
Mike Bergman says, my thoughts exactly. Yeah, Mike, the question is anyone doing that? I don't know if anyone's doing that. Okay, continuing on our super chats. Thanks to the super chats for supporting the live stream. Nazar Koken wants to know benefit of a compass in GPS. Nazar, the benefit of a compass is that a GPS cannot tell what direction you're facing. Think about that for a second. It's going to drive me crazy that this drawer is open behind me. Hold on. Okay. A GPS can't tell what direction you're facing. It only knows where you are, right? GPS location, not GPS direction. Well, actually, GPS direction is a thing. A GPS receiver will also report a heading. How does the GPS know you're heading? Well, it knows where you are, and it knows where you are, and it knows where you are. And if it knows where you are, and it knows where you were, that it can tell what direction you're moving, and it assumes that you're facing the direction that you're moving because for a lot of vehicles, that's true. So when you have just a GPS with no compass, how does Betaflight know what direction you're facing? One of the ways that it gets that information is from the GPS heading, and the GPS heading is based on your direction of movement. But if you think about it, and you can do this test, if you have a quadcopter with a GPS and no compass, take it out, put the GPS, put the direction home indicator, put the direction home indicator in your OSD, and slide sideways instead of flying forward. Just roll to the side and slide sideways. And what you'll see is that the direction home indicator will change because now the flight controller assumes that you've turned and you're facing that direction. If you have a compass, it can actually know what direction you're facing independent of what direction you're moving because the compass gives you a magnetic orientation, and that's the benefit of a compass. The other thing about compasses is that if you rotate in place, a GPS can't know that you're rotating, except that's not entirely true either. So here's where it gets a little more complicated. Do this. Try this experiment. On a quadcopter that doesn't have a compass, put the compass heading in your OSD and watch what happens. And what will happen is that when you power up the quad, the compass heading will read north. And if you turn the quad 90 degrees to the right, the compass heading will read east, and so on and so on. How does the flight controller know what direction you're facing when there isn't a compass? And the answer is that it can detect the rotation of the quad via the gyro. And so the flight controller will actually do its best to estimate what direction you're facing based on the gyro. But the problem is that that's like a form of dead reckoning, and eventually it accrues error. It becomes more and more incorrect over time. So the way it actually works is that it uses a combination of the GPS heading, the gyro rotation, and the compass all together to sort of estimate what direction you're facing. And if you don't have a compass, that estimate is less accurate. Good question. Small versus big GPS M10. The big one is going to have a bigger antenna, so probably it'll work better. But, you know, obviously, would pick the one that's right for your quad. Hold on. Oh, golly. Everything's driving me crazy today, Blunty. My chair is missing a wheel and trying to fall over. My rug is crumpling up. Ugh. Okay, continuing on. Dodd Dupuy. Thank you for a $10 super chat. I just got my JB quad. I'm doing my first build with your videos. Also my first 6S quad. What battery do you recommend? For a 6S 5-inch... So the one that I used in... This is not it. That's a really expensive battery. Yeah, that's the one. The one that I used in the video is the one that GetFPV sent me with the kit. And it's this Xylo 1250 milliamp hour. It's $35. It's rated 100C. I think we can do better for price, though. GetFPV, I'm sorry. Somewhere someone at GetFPV is sad that I'm about to do this. I think it's 1,000 milliamp hour. Here's a 1,300. Oh, that price is pretty similar. Okay. That's interesting. That's a pretty similar price. So the one that I actually use on my quads is 1,000 milliamp hour. Oh, golly, batteries have gotten expensive. Shoo! The one that I use is 1,000 milliamp hour. I like a little bit smaller and a little bit lighter pack. It's $28. That hurts me. It used to be like a $23 battery. The closer one to the Xylo one would be this one, the 1300 100C. Don't let the fact that this one is 1250 and this one's 1300 freak you out. That's just marketing numbers. It doesn't really mean anything. Both of these are similar in price and would do great on a 5-inch freestyle quad. Thank you for buying the JB kit. I hope it goes really well for you. Any recommendations for a durable 1404 motor? Tiny trainer bearings are getting trashed pretty quick in a dusty warehouse. I don't know about that, Jordal. I don't know if a particular 1404 is more durable than any others. I mean, the bearings are going to get pretty trashed if you're flying around a dusty warehouse getting dust in the bearings. I'm not sure I could make a recommendation for one that's going to last you longer than others. You probably have more data than I do since you've been flying in a dusty warehouse and I haven't. So I would ask you, when you figure out what a good 1404 motor is, that you come tell me, and then I'll know. Do my research for me. Thank you for your donation. Apologies, I can't give you a better answer. Can you lock the Edge TX system buttons during flight? Thank you for a $2, Jan Grudnicki. I don't think there's any way in Edge TX to lock like the sys or the menu buttons. I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't know that there's any way to do that, period. Because then you could theoretically lock yourself out of your radio. Lotus, thank you for a $5 super chat. I'm very new to the space and I love your stuff. Well, thank you. It means a lot. I appreciate it. My first drone comes in soon. Should I go with Caddx Vista 03 or another? I have to say, if someone was buying today, starting from scratch, the choice of Vista or 03, I think that probably 03 is the way to go, especially if you're going to buy bind and fly drones. There are fewer and fewer bind and fly drones with the Vista in them, more and more with the 03. Personally, I think that the Vista is in some ways preferable to the 03. But regardless, I think most people who kind of want to go with the flow and make their lives easier would do better to buy the 03. You could certainly consider whether you want to get Walksnail HD0 or, God forbid, analog. I'm joking, analog users, please don't take that seriously and then go to the comments and I knew it, Bardwell hates analog. Just joking. I think that the discussion of which video system to get is a long and nuanced one, and what I'm going to do, I'm not going to do that here on the live stream and bore everybody. Especially because many people have heard it before. But what I will do is refer you to this video, Best FPV Goggle 2023 Buyer's Guide. It's 41 minutes long. Take advantage of the chapter markers if you don't want to watch the whole thing or watch it in segments. But I did my best to assume very little about what you already know and to really summarize for you the pros and cons of each of the video systems in as fair and balanced a way as I could. And that's the video I would recommend if you're not sure which video system to buy today. FlatRat3, thank you for a $5 super chat. I use the V1 goggle with Air Units Vistas, WTFOS, and Betaflight, iNav, and ArduPilot with colored OSD. I know some of those words. If I update to the Goggle 2, will I lose my sweet OSD? Nope. The Goggles... Oh, wait, back. I'm sorry. Woo! Oh, I almost misread that. I misread that as the V2 goggles instead of the V1s. Yes, you will. So you won't have colored OSD anymore. That's for sure. And the Goggles 2 only support Betaflight OSD. They do not support iNav or ArduPilot. Blunty, do you know if that's still true? Or I know that the people have been trying to get that changed. I don't think they have.
I have no idea.
Okay, I thought maybe you might.
Also,
Yeah.
though, you lost the YouTube feed, so when you could fix that to social stream.
Oh, sorry. I got that fixed now. Yep, I didn't scroll to the bottom. It should be rolling right now. Sorry about that, Plenty. What's the difference between iNav, ArduPilot, and Betaflight OSD? The difference is the character set that they use. The goggles 2 currently only support the Betaflight character set. ArduPilot, if I remember correctly, has a backwards compatibility mode where ArduPilot uses the Betaflight character set. However, some characters that ArduPilot has that Betaflight doesn't, people really miss. I don't know what they are, but like ArduPilot has some characters in its OSD that Betaflight doesn't, and you lose those, which is annoying. iNav, I don't think iNav has implemented a compatibility mode because Pavel Spakowski, the main iNav dev, I think, if I could summarize his attitude, and I may be wrong, but I think his attitude is, shut up, do it right. I'm not going to compromise. DJI needs to correctly support my firmware, not me have to just, half-ass it for DJI. Or maybe those wouldn't be his exact words, but I don't think he has implemented a compatibility mode. I'm sure the chat will tell me if I'm wrong about that. And so you will get OSD in Betaflight and ArduPilot, but you won't get the full ArduPilot OSD. You won't get color. And in iNav, I think it just plain doesn't work. So I think in your situation, you're better off sticking with the V1s. But asks, what's the best starter to intermediate kit to get? Then just upgrade to a proper build with the DJI system. Don't want the best analog or the cheapest. Thank you for a $7 Canadian. Well, I certainly would be remiss. I would certainly be remiss if I did not mention my own beginner build kit from Get FPV. What you say here is you want something that's not the best, but also not the worst or the cheapest. And that's actually kind of what we got here. Obviously, the frame, the frame is the best. I'm being a little sarcastic here. I like it. It's my frame. I understand that not everybody's going to like it, but I think it's pretty good. And it is the frame that I fly on a daily basis on my own quadcopters. The motors, the flight controller, the video transmitter are all sort of right in that sweet spot where they don't suck. So they're not the cheapest, but they're not the most expensive either. And the beauty of this is you get to build it yourself. And if you decide to add a digital video transmitter later, we've got instructions for how to install it. I have a full build series. If we go to my YouTube playlists, I've got a full build series. Hey, look at that.
FPV drones have...
Quiet. See, I shushed myself too. I've got a full build series that takes you through the entire process of building the quadcopter all the way to your very first flight. And it is, in my opinion, and I say this with all the humility I can muster while still saying this, it is, in my opinion, the best way to learn how to build a quadcopter and the best way to dive into the waters of FPV, because there's so much to learn that it's so hard to just know where to start. And the nice thing about this is you not only build a quadcopter, but you install Betaflight, you configure the flight controller. It takes you through all the basic things you have to do to get in the air, and then you're in the air at the end of it. And then you can sort of take it from there. So the only downside is you're in Canada. So in addition to living in an inferior country and having an inferior currency, you'll have to pay shipping and import fees, which is going to raise the price. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Sorry, Canada. Don't be mad. I'm just teasing. You do have amazing shawarma. I was in Ottawa not too long ago. Have I told you guys about this? I probably have. I was in Ottawa not too long ago, and I went to Shawarma Prince, and it was so good. It was so good. And here's the thing. Ever since I went to Shawarma, and I don't know, is Shawarma Prince, Canadians, is Shawarma Prince a good shawarma restaurant? Maybe you'll be like, nah, Shawarma Prince is terrible. It was so good to me. Maybe there's better. I went back home, and I started looking for shawarma places. And it's not the same. If my shawarma isn't given to me by a Lebanese guy who says, You want the spicy garlic on that, my friend? I apologize to Lebanese people for ruining your accent. If it's not given to me by an excessively friendly Lebanese man, then it's not the same. And I enjoyed it so much. I had a tabbouleh salad. And there was no bulgur wheat in it. Which you're probably thinking, what? It was just parsley and like lemon? And yes, that's exactly what it was. And I said to him, is there what's in it? He's like, oh no, we don't put the bulgur wheat in it because some people are intolerant to gluten or whatever. They can't eat wheat, so we just make it with the parsley. I was like, okay. It was so good. And I miss it. So I'm sorry I made fun of you, Canada. Of all the things I could love about Canada, was it the maple syrup? Was it the hockey? No. Was it the poutine? No. It was the shawarma. Okay. Guess I'm still insulting Canada in a way. Okay. Paul Hampton, thank you for a $20 super chat. 20 Canadian dollars. Damn it. I got to be nice to Canada. Canada's carrying me for this stream. Thank you for helping this noob learn something every day. My Luminar QAV-S JB kit comes in 2 days. What's the best toolkit that you recommend? I'm going to show you some toolkits. The real answer is to go to my website, fpvknowitall.com. fpvknowitall.com. And in the shopping list section, I've got a list of tools you can pick up. And that's what I suggest. But I also show both the Newbie Drone and the Flywoo toolkits. And these toolkits are pretty good. None of them are perfect, but they're, I think, worth your money. The Newbie Drone toolkit, soldering iron, tweezers, flux pen, solder, multi-tool, driver, little ratcheting prop wrench. Frickin' love this thing. This is money right here. This little thing, pay $10 for that all by itself. And a cutter. Pretty decent quality tools, even a soldering practice board. Very nice. The Flywoo toolkit, however, I gotta say, this portable multimeter, money. I have this in my toolkit. It's not like a great multimeter, but for the size of the thing, it folds up. It's fully self-contained. Very nice. I think the quality of the tools on the Flywoo kit is a little lower than the quality of the tools on the Newbie Drone kit. But you get this really nice multimeter, and that's something. You can buy the multimeter separately. Still. I think of the two, I'd take the Newbie Drone kit and then buy the multimeter separately. But either of those is good. And it's worth a try.
Did we mention MIP drivers?
Well, sure. I mean,
I just feel like King Kleck actually says I strip out every 2 millimeter hex driver I get.
Yeah.
The other ones are fine. Yeah, if they have a MIP version of that, my experience with MIP has been really good. So.
I mean, MIP drivers are good, but they're expensive as hell.
Sure, so it's just if you never want to worry about stripping something.
Yeah. So like, I don't know this particular driver actually. And I don't know this driver either. So these... Is it this one? Maybe. I have had a set of drivers with... it's not that one. This is it. So the bits that come with this RDQ all-in-one driver are very good. They're not MIP quality. Nothing's MIP quality. But they're quite good, and it's only $30 for the driver. I've said that I would buy this driver just for the bits. Like a MIP driver is going to cost you $15 just for like one driver. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like
3, on Amazon.
Yeah. So here's a set of MIP drivers. 1.5, 2.0, and 2.5 for $50. Like, more power to you. They're the best drivers. But you got to really freaking want them. You can
We just
also
spend
get
so much on quads. It's like, why don't you just, you buy some drivers?
It's true. You can also get MIP bits separately. I don't know where those would be. Yeah, so you can get the bits separately. Here, not the I don't know. Here we go. Yeah, oh, these. I see. So you could also get these. It's $35 just for the bits. That's not actually that much cheaper. Anyway. Something to think about. MIP are very, very good. But also expensive. I've done fine with this style of bit for a long time. But, so I don't think you need the MIP bits, but they are very nice. I have them because someone gifted them to me. I feel guilty. They gifted me a set of MIP drivers with a 1.5, a 2.0, a 2.5, and a 3.0. And I'm not carrying the 3.0 with me in my backpack because I never use a 3.0. So, but I'm not going to throw it out. So it's just sitting over there on my toolkit bench, never to be used. There you go. Milo says, in your kit, it says you need to buy your own receiver. What receiver do you recommend for an analog setup? In the build that I do, I use an Express ELRS receiver. If you want to follow along with the build, that's what you should buy too. I have 10 M10 GPS units. Even the micro M10s are better than a large M8, says CB Runner. Thanks for a $5 super chat, CB Runner. The M10s are really good. Trevor Knutson, thank you for a $5 super chat, says, I'm having trouble remapping channels on my quad in Betaflight. I feel like I messed something up when updating the RXSR. Longer explanation in comments. All right, let's see what Trevor has to say. Says, I just finished soldering up my quad. I had a hell of a time getting it to bind, but I finally got it to bind after updating the RXSR to FCC access. After connecting to the flight controller, I'm using SpeedyB F4 stack and the QX7 Plus. I mean, Trevor, do you have movement in your receiver tab? And do the correct channels move? The flashing of the firmware to the receiver can't change the channel mapping. People are listing quads that use a 3mm driver. Fair enough. Yeah, the firmware that you flash, Trevor. Yes, I do. The correct ones don't move, but they're jumping all over the place. Aha! So, Trevor, if they're jumping all over the place, I've seen that happen before. If, like, you set your protocol to S-Bus, but it's actually using F-Port, and so the serial data that's coming in just makes the channels go crazy. So my guess is that you have the wrong protocol selected in the receiver tab. So it's not a channel mapping issue. It's a receiver protocol issue. Joe Buckingham says, I'm listening and about to head home from a late shift. Thanks for everything you've helped with and what you put into the community. Thank you, Joe, and thank you for 20 pounds. It is a late shift. It's in the UK. It's like 2 a.m. No, Trevor. If the channels in the receiver tab are just kind of going, that probably has nothing to do with the receiver or the transmitter. That probably is you have the wrong protocol selected in the receiver tab. But I don't think it's the receiver or the transmitter. Philly Style wants to know, why no third-party O3 cameras yet? Any whispers? Thanks for a $2 super chat, Philly Style. Philly Style, the third-party Vista cameras like the Nebula Pro or the Runcam Phoenix and the Wasp and all those cameras, they were made with DJI's consent. No one would have done that if DJI hadn't said, you can do it and here's how. Okay? No one's going to make a third-party O3 camera until DJI says, we want you to make a third-party O3 camera. And DJI hasn't done that. And at this point, maybe they won't. I don't know. But there were reasons why DJI felt like it was beneficial to them to have Caddx making cameras for the Vista. And so that happened. That hasn't happened for the O3. That's the answer. I mean, someone could make it. I don't know if there's some like cryptographic thing that would prevent anyone from doing it. But from a business perspective, they're not going to do it without DJI's permission because, and you mess with DJI's hardware. I mean, I don't know. People make third-party hardware for DJI stuff. DJI doesn't sue them. Maybe they just can't. I don't know. I don't actually know. Capiello FPV. Capiello, thank you for $10. Let's just see if Capiello left a question. I don't see a question attached to the super chat. Capiello. Capiello wants to know, for GPS rescue, do I need to disable the baro sensor if I already have a baro on my GPS? Good question. I don't think you should need to. I mean, the flight controller is only going to use one of those barometers, pretty sure. I've also heard of some people going into the command line and disabling the barometer because they find that the barometer causes the altitude to fluctuate a lot, but the GPS altitude is more consistent. That surprised me because GPS altitude is not known for being terribly accurate, but at least one person emailed me and asked how to do that, and there apparently is a way to do it in the CLI. Let me look at that. Is it here? Nope, that's not it. Hold on. I'm going to see if I can find this question.
So just for posterity, Betaflight recommends always using a baro.
That is correct. Yep. Well, phooey. Yep, I found it. So again, Valenti, you're correct. Betaflight recommends always using a barometer. Definitely. I'm going to show this conversation that I had with a person. And they asked, hey, I just got the Diatone Mamba Mark IV in a GPS. And it keeps, oh, I see. I have it backwards. Sorry, guys. That's why I wanted to check. It keeps defaulting to the GPS altitude, which is not as exact. He wants to use the barometer, not the GPS. So in the CLI, you can do set altitude source equals baro only. I did have it backwards. No wonder that seemed wrong. It turns out it was wrong. And that causes it to ignore the GPS altitude. And it's pretty accurate. Now, I don't know how you could choose which barometer you want it to use. The one on the GPS or the one on the flight controller.
I just want to add as well, I posted in the Discord the Betaflight official info about the baro. It does say for longer flights, the baro can get out of whack more than the GPS, and there's a trust value you can set to decide which it uses. So,
a trust value. Again, this is GPS altitude versus baro, not I have two baros.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Continuing on. Badumts. Thank you for $7 Canadian. I meant the beginner kit with the controller, goggles, etc. to start and progress in real life sims to get until I get to buy a build kit with DJI. Plus, I have DJI goggles already. What's the best starter kit? I see. So you want a beginner kit with controller and goggles, and then you don't want to build your own. I see.
But also, he does have the DJI goggles already.
Which DJI, I guess his goggles 2 or the V2.
Does not say.
Well, I mean, how are you gonna? But he wants analog. Do you read this question as he wants analog? Plenty. Don't want the best analog or the cheapest. If he has digital,
that's tough. I don't know. I'm confused now.
If he has DJI goggles, he should just buy a DJI quad.
I agree. I think the cost you'd get for something like other than that is a little rough. So.
Well, normally if somebody wants an all-in-one beginner kit with everything you need to get started, I steer them to Rotor Riot, and they have these starter kits. Unfortunately, though, they have stopped selling the DJI starter kits, and they've gone hard. Oh, I'm wrong. Am I wrong? I'm obviously wrong. Boy, it's good to catch yourself when you're wrong right at the beginning. So, like, maybe you could go with something like the Rotor Riot Tank 5-inch with, you could get the RunCam Link. So if you wanted to save a little money, you could get the RunCam Link, or you could get the O3 690 versus 614. So just save a little money. And you could get that with whatever receiver. I would suggest Express ELRS. And Rotor Riot will send that to you, not the built-in tuned. We want the starter kit. Fat Shark HD 5-inch starter kit. There we go. That's what we want, is the starter kit. Oh no, but they can't. Okay, so you gotta call them up. Rotor Riot will do this for you. Tell them, look, I want a starter kit. I already have my own goggles. I want you to sell me a starter kit with a O3 video transmitter in it, but everything else, the Boxer, everything else, but I don't need the goggles. It's a nice thing about Rotor Riot is that they'll just customize a kit for you like that. Would the iFlight kit be a better value? Maybe.
Some of the chat is suggesting the reason it's harder to find the kits is because it needs standard RID or something that is not accurate. Rotor Riot is putting a statement on all their drones where they claim that they do not need remote ID on their drones because it's only for indoor use or in locations where you don't need remote ID. So anything you buy from Rotor Riot won't have standard remote ID.
No, but nothing you buy from iFlight will have standard remote ID either. Nothing you buy from anybody will have it.
People are confused because of the whole kit situation. Like that was the terminology in the.
Yeah. So the problem is that the iFlight kits, if you already own the goggles, then I don't think you can buy the kit without the goggles. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's pick a kit like the IH3 is a solid choice. Now I actually like the Boxer better than the iFlight Commando, but the Commando's okay. Can I leave the goggles off? No. So the iFlight kit's going to be no good for you if you already have the goggles. So what I would do, is I would call up Rotor Riot customer service, contact them, tell them you want to buy the 5-inch starter kit, but you already have a set of goggles, and ask them to spec you out a build that has the correct video transmitter and then send it to you all ready to go. Obviously, it won't be bound to your goggles, but you could do that yourself. We are nearly caught up on the super chats. Wow. Al Mac FPV says, do you think it would be possible for the devs at WTFOS to hack the Vista to allow for use with any multi-protocol control link? I don't think that's possible. I mean, in theory, many things are possible. Like, does the Vista have 2.4 gigahertz radio in it?
No.
The O3 does. The Vista does not.
Well, at least the
Yeah.
Ariana didn't have the actual SDRs on it. They were missing. So I
Right.
think it's the same for the Vista.
Yeah, so no, because the multi-protocol control links, not that you would want to use those anyway, you would want to use a long-range control link, but anyway, the multi-protocol control links are all 2.4 gigahertz. The Vista does not have a 2.4 gig radio in it, as far as we know. Therefore, there's no amount of firmware shenanigans that would make that work. Good question, though. 1507 motors, too much for a sub 250 3.5-inch freestyle build. No, I don't think they're too much. I've seen some 3.5-inch builds with like 16 millimeter motors. I think that especially if you're going sub 250 though, you're going to want to be down in the 1404 to 1406 size. That 1507s are probably going to make it a lot harder for you to hit that sub 250 target. But, you know, many things are possible. I'm not saying you can't do it. That's bigger than I think most people would pick for a 3.5-inch sub 250. Any thoughts about the Fractal Wingman? Thank you for a $2 super chat. Rem Thompson's maker shit. Yeah, Fractal. Which one is the Fractal Wingman? Fractal makes good stuff. Oh, yeah. Well, so this is one of those 18650 quads where you slap in. Does he have an example of it with the battery in it? I don't see an example of it. Where you slap in an 18650 cell and you take it out and you fly it. And the advantage of this type of quad is that there's no oh, I got to charge my lipos or anything. It's just you plug in a battery, just like plug it in a AA, and then you fly it around. Does he have any third-party shots? But no, it's just a flight. Darn, I really wanted to see somebody put the damn battery in it. It's cute that it folds up. Show me. You sons of bitches. Hi, I have a quadcopter. It is a new cool thing. What does it do? You can put an 18650 battery in it and fly it. Are you going to put any pictures of it doing the single coolest thing that it does on your website? Nah, I don't think I'd do that. I thought I'd just let you imagine it. Okay, the arms also fold. That's also cool. The second coolest thing it does. Oh, here it is. Yeah, and now what I want you to do is I just want you to imagine that there's an 18650 in there. Oh, well, maybe you could put one in there and take a picture and put it on the website so I could really show it off. Nah, I'm gonna let you do that. Okay. I mean, that's one way to go about it, I guess. Seems pretty close. That's pretty good. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay. Oh. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I like that. There we go. Okay. I mean, or you could have just put a picture of it on your website. Oh, that's pretty much what it would look like. Take that, Ghost Branch! Is he still in the chat? Most passive-aggressive live stream ever. What do I think about the Fractal Wingman? These 18650 quads often don't fly great because the battery just doesn't provide enough power to handle the weight of the quad. If anyone can engineer an ultra-light quad like this that can do it, then Fractal can. The other problem I've had is that when you crash, the battery ejects and then it's not powered up, and they tend to break easily. So if you desperately want a tiny foldable quad that takes an 18650, this is probably one of the best ones. But that's a really specific thing for you to want, you know? And I haven't flown this one, but I've flown 2 or 3 others, and in general, I've been underwhelmed by them. So, there we go. I believe it's a 3-inch is the prop size. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to show off my Photoshop skills. Is Ghost Branch here? Ghost Branch was here. I'm judging. Ghost Branch, you would have done it better. Ghost Branch, I swear to God, on my laptop, I have the beta version of Photoshop that does the generative fill, the AI generative fill, and I wished I could have just tried to do a generative fill of an 18650. But the Tom John, if I wasn't on a live stream, I would have used a mask and not erased. But I was just banging it out for the live stream. I didn't really care about the result. I would have used a mask, obviously. Ghost Branch would have done it better. Steve Jobs, thank you for a $5 Canadian. I made an O3 hot swap system and 2 frames to go with it. It's open source on Thingiverse, thing number 6201701. Love to hear your thoughts and improvements. Ooh, before we go there, Ghost Branch used Photoshop AI to do generative fill. That's freaking amazing. That Photoshop generative fill is so good. That's so good.
If anybody wants to try it, by the way, you can try it for free at Adobe Firefly. It's an online way to do it.
Oh, interesting.
And I do not have Photoshop, so.
Interesting. Didn't know that. So, like, I'm not holding a sword, as you can tell from the AI fingers here. That's shockingly good, though. So then I gave myself a puppy. Pretty good. Then I gave myself a pigeon. Not quite as good. Again, AI struggled with the fingers. Still pretty good. And then I just started expanding the picture and having it fill things in. I gotta say, it's not the worst thing ever. It's not the worst thing ever. I mean, it's got a long way to go. But I was impressed. I was impressed. It's got a long way to go. All right. Let's take a look at this Thingiverse album, 6201701. Hot swap 5-inch freestyle drone, a hot swappable O3. What do we got here? Oh, there's the front. Where's the... I'm having a lot of trouble figuring out what's what here. And none of these are on STL, so I kind of don't know what to do with them. I don't know what program uses a step file. And this is a URL file, not a JPEG. And it's not really clear to me, like, which part of this. Okay, it looks like the O3 slides in here. It's kind of hard to figure out what's what. Since here's the O3, I see. It slides in the front. That's cool, I guess. That's kind of, yeah, that's cool. That's clever. You must have cut the frickin' carbon, too. It's a lot of work, dude. That's pretty good. That's pretty impressive. I see. Here's the front. I don't know how many people are going to, like, actually do this, especially because you need a custom cut frame to really make it work, but that's pretty cool. Oh, the channels are moving, right? But in Betaflight, everything's still jumping around. Trevor Knutson, S-port is telemetry, or F-port receiver protocol. Trevor, I'm sorry. I think you're going to have to email about this. I think we got to, like, actually break this out. You know, look at the wires and so forth. Trevor Knutson says, everything is fine and staying still in the setup tab, but in the receiver tab, the only ones that move are the main controls. No input from the switches. Okay, that's normal. You have to set up the aux channels manually. The switches don't do anything normally. So that's good. Trevor, it sounds like you're on the right track. But I think we have to dig into this, and I don't think we should dig into this on the live stream while, you know, 500 people sit there and watch. I think we should dig into this, like, one-on-one. Samuel Polden, thanks for $1 Australian and 5 more Australian dollars. Good 4-inch racing frame to replace my Beta FPV Twig mutant frame. Don't really want to have to extend my motor wires. Eesh. I don't know. Nobody's making a 4-inch racing frame. I mean, someone probably is, but I don't know who they are. 4-inch is a pretty... it's not as there was a brief window of time where people made a bunch of 4-inch frames, and it seemed like maybe 4-inch was going to be a thing, but then it turned out it wasn't. It turns out 5-inch and 3.5-inch really are where people landed. So I would be looking for like a 3.5-inch racing frame. Then you won't have to extend your motor wires, and 3.5-inch props are almost as good as 4-inch, right? But I can't think of a good 4-inch racing frame that's going to really sort you out. For 3-inch, like the Happy Model Crux 3.5 is one people like a lot. Though I don't know if you're going to want that exact form factor. What's the Beta FPV Twig? I really hated the Beta FPV Twig, to be honest with you. No offense intended. I actually... No. This is the one I hated. The one I hated was the 5-inch. I really hated that 5-inch version of this. The 4 might be fine. Could you not buy this anymore? Why don't you just buy this? Why don't you just buy this? No, it's only the quad. Haha, screw you. You can't get it anymore. Is that how it is? Twig 3. Ah, bingo. Here you go. Why don't you just... No, it's out of stock. You're boned. Yeah. I don't know anyone who's making a frame like this in 4 inches. The 3.5-inch scythe racing frame. I think you're going to have to go to a 3.5. And that's just life. That's not very similar to the one he's looking for. I mean, it could be a good frame. The Crux 3.5 is somewhat similar to what he's... No, it's not that similar. That one's not that similar either. It's close. The Crux 3.5 is like kind of close. Samuel Polden wants individual arms. I don't know, dude. I don't know about that. Especially in that size, I think they're mostly unibodies. Riet9 suggests the TBS Pod Racer 4. Use my affiliate link. No. The Power Pick 4, says Mike Bergman. Oh, Mike Bergman is on it. Thank you, Mike. Apparently, there's more 4 inches than I thought. The FPV Cycle Power Pick 4. Ooh, and it has separate arms. Oh, that's the 5. No, the 4 does too. Okay, winning the FPV Cycle Power Pick 4. Hell yeah. There you go. That's the one for you. Wonderful. Oh my God, we're caught up on Super Chats. Amazing. Amazing. Well, we're going to go back. We're going to take a few more questions from the regular chat. If by some amazing stroke of fate I didn't get to your question, which I didn't get to a lot of your questions yet, excuse me, there's like 26 questions in the queue. I guarantee you in the next 17 minutes of live stream, I will not answer 26 questions. So, if I don't get to your question, feel free to email me, jb@joshuabardwell.com, or message me on Discord if you're a patron, and I will do my best to help you out. But we're going to take some more questions here. Robert FPV says, I bought the Flyfish RC Volador for my frame and was wondering if I don't use a GoPro, would the weight be fine? Robert FPV, the weight is fine if you do use a GoPro. Many people don't mind a heavy quad the way that I do. I particularly dislike excessively heavy quads. That's my personal taste, and not everybody agrees with me. Lots of people fly heavy quads and are fine with it and feel like there are advantages in terms of durability, and they don't mind the trade-offs in terms of handling. So if you bought that frame, don't sweat. I'm not going to tell you, I don't care what this Bardwell guy says, because, then I would be out of a job. So I would like you to care what I say, but don't think you have to agree with everything I say, is I guess how I would put it. If you feel like you don't value a lightweight frame the way that I do, that's fine. If you go and you watch a movie critic and you know that this movie critic hates a certain type of movie that you love, then if he's reviewing a movie or a video game or whatever it is that you love and he hates, you're just not going to listen. You're going to be like, yeah, no, I like this guy's reviews, but I just can't listen to him when he reviews horror movies. So that's fine. The Volador is a heavier frame than I would prefer, although I do enjoy flying my 8S Volador, and I see the benefit of that frame. If you don't use a GoPro, you're going to more than make up the difference in weight of, like, my typical daily driver. My typical daily driver comes in around 700 grams, maybe a little more, with a GoPro. That's with a GoPro Hero 8, not a GoPro Hero 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever. 700-ish grams. You could build a Volador and take the GoPro off and have it come in at about the same weight, and it would fly great. You could put a GoPro on it, and you could probably still be happy with how it flies, so don't sweat it. Joseph Dahari, thanks for a $10 super chat. I am not an expert in yoga, that's for sure. Show us what you got. No, thank you. Volter Van Den, thank you for €6. Recently got a Mobula 803. I really like it, except for the short flight time. Yeah, the flight time of that thing is short as hell. What's your thoughts on the new 85mm whoop from Flywoo? Well, it's an 85mm with a naked 03, so it's going to be lighter. That's got to be better in terms of flight characteristics. It better have longer flight time and more agility and more power. The only question is going to be whether the 03, the naked 03, has terrible durability. Derek Lambert, if you've got the JBQAVS2 frame and you're direct mounting an 03 unit, I mean, be careful about hard mounting it, because if you tighten the screws too much, some people have said you can deform the case. I personally I don't hard mount the O3 or the Vista. I use tape and zip ties, but that's just me. You might consider using some O-rings or nuts to make sure that you're not squeezing the O3 in an unhealthy way. You could probably also get a 3D printed base, which we don't provide with the kit, but if you have a 3D printer, you could certainly do that. Thank you, Samuel Polton, for another $2. Glad we were able to help you out. Cool Chicken says, I crashed my quad and now my HD0 is acting like it's pushing 25 watts. I think you mean 25 milliwatts. Oh yeah. I'm certain I have it to push 1 kilowatt. No, you don't. So just for the record, 25 milliwatts up to 1 watt is what its output is. No, it's not firmware. So guys, there's a really, really basic principle here that everybody needs to really internalize. And that is, crashing can't cause your firmware to mess up. Crashing can't cause your flight controller configuration to change. Crashing breaks your hardware. So if you crash and now your video transmitter is outputting less power, it's not your firmware. Don't reflash it. You crashed and you broke your hardware. Check the antenna, etc. That kind of thing. Bad versus Evil wants to know, did they ever fix the issue with Betaflight with M10 chips? No. That will be fixed in Betaflight 4.5 is what they're saying. It is not fixed in Betaflight 4.4. You still need to do the U-Center fix. Is OpenIPC or OpenHD worth it for the low price as an upgrade over analog despite the latency, or does the latency make it unusable? I mean, the price is low. Why don't you give it a try and report back to us? Yeah. I'm going to hold my opinion. If anybody out there wants to flash it and try it, be my guest. And you come back and you let us know how it goes. How about that?
You might want to mention what the M10 fix is. I guess people don't know what that is.
Sure. Yeah, so there's a problem where Betaflight 4.4 cannot do the auto configuration on the M10 GPS units, which means that they may only use 1 hertz update rate and they may not use the fastest baud rate. And the slower update rate may cause Betaflight's return to home to work badly. That's the short version. Normally, Betaflight auto configures the GPS to have a faster update rate and to work better. The GPS fix is here on iFlight's website, iflightrc.eu. I'll put the link in the chat. And basically, it's a thing that you can do with a piece of software on your computer that manually configures the GPS to perform better, since Betaflight 4.4 can't do it automatically. Let's see here. Mike Bergman wants to know, has anybody used a FreeSky 2.4 gigahertz whip antenna? Whip antenna. Say cool, cool. Say whip, whip. Say cool whip. Cool whip. Wheatens. Has anybody used a 2.4 gigahertz whip antenna with Express LRS? No reason why you couldn't. It would probably give you great range because Express LRS has such great range. So Mike Bergman, I would go for it if you want to. Dank FPV asked this question way back at the beginning of the stream. I wanted to buy your purple shirt on Get FPV, but only in small. I really want a shirt. Dank FPV, if you're still out there, let's see if Dank FPV is out there. They are still taggable in the chat. I assume that means they're still watching. I'm not sure. Dank FPV, that's totally up to Get FPV. If they're, I assume they're not stocking that shirt anymore, that they're just selling through what they've got, and then once it's gone, it's gone. So my guess is that the small are just the last ones that are left, and I assume if you didn't get one, then you're not going to get one. Sorry. That was a limited run for like a subscription box, and now they're just, I assume they're just trying to get rid of the damn things. Dank FPV, what size did you want? I'll tell you what, Dank FPV, if it's an extra large, and if I can find, I think I know where mine is. If it's an extra large, and if I can find mine, then if you get a hold of me, I'll send it to you. That's the best offer I can make you. I'll watch it before I send it. Alpha FPV Drone wants to know, what drone do you recommend to fly indoor with 4K for real estate? The Avata. That's not the answer people want to hear from a FPV channel. But for someone who doesn't have any experience flying drones, is a real estate agent, and wants to get fly-through footage, the Avata is the actual best answer because it's so easy to fly. However, the actual right answer is to get a camera like a GoPro on a stick and just do the fly-through with like a 360 cam on a stick or a GoPro on a stick. There's drone fly-through, I'm trying to think of the right way to put this. Drone fly-throughs are cool, but most people who aren't experienced drone pilots can get a great walkthrough of a real estate building with a handheld camera or a camera on a stick, so you could kind of put it up high and then kind of move it down low, you know. If you want a drone, though, get it with an Avata. A gimbal, a camera, like if you bought like a cheap gimbal or an expensive gimbal, why not? Get a gimbal so you can really do nice camera moves and just walk through the damn house moving the gimbal around, and you'll get just as good results as a drone, maybe better, especially because you don't know how to fly a drone yet, probably. But if you want a drone, get the Avata. Let's see here. Why is Bardwell so blurry? Because your internet sucks. The Decampdill, way back when, at the very beginning of the stream, Decampdill asks, I have OSD working on Walksnail, but no low power off on disarm. There's a temperature protection setting that you can disable, and then the VTX will stay at full power all the time. I can't remember exactly where it is in the menu, but there is a setting that disables the low power protection. I'm guessing that's why you've just turned it off by accident. Decampdill says, on ARM, no low power off on disarm. Is it staying in low power, Decampdill? Is it staying in low power? Is that what you're saying? If it's staying in low power and OSD is working, then that's a confusing one for me, because obviously the MSP connection is working, at which point the video transmitter must know that the quad is armed.
Isn't there like some weirdness with at least the Vista or the O3 where if you only have one wire connected, you get some function and not the other functions? That's my memory, is that some of the functions work with 2-wire and some work with 1 wire. So if one of the wires is disconnected, that's my memory.
I mean, maybe
Madstech talking about it.
That's plausible, but I think it's a long shot.
Sure.
Good. Yeah, it's plausible. Decampto, could you try a different video transmitter? Just swap one in. It's worth a try. We are coming up to the end of the stream. We're coming up to the end of the stream. We got about 3 minutes left. We got any super chats that come in? No super chats. Any news on China banning certain drones? Paul Turner 24. So Paul, we are anxiously. Oh wait! It's September 1st. The day the apocalypse day has happened. We're anxiously awaiting to find out the real world effects of this. The very, very short version, since we only have 2 minutes left in the stream, is that China, the government of China, imposed an export ban on certain types of drones that might have military application. And the motivation is that there's all this bad, well, the actual motivation, who knows, but FPV drones from China are being used by military people in Ukraine, and China didn't like that and imposed this export restriction. And some people have wondered whether that will affect availability of hobby drones. Some manufacturers told us we don't think we'll be affected. Other manufacturers said we do think we'll be affected. And in fact, at least one manufacturer, SpeedyBee, explicitly sent out a message saying that they would no longer be able to export certain drones. So it is very up in the air. And it doesn't seem like there is any consistent across the board effect, but it also seems like for sure at least some manufacturers are no longer exporting some models of drones. And these weren't like big scary drones. It was like the SpeedyBee 2.5-inch Cinewhoop, and they were just like, nope, we're not doing it. So we don't know. We got a message here from EMU Lamer, who says Darwin FPV told them that they no longer ship via DHL. The export of drones is very difficult, so we can only use ordinary shipping method, which will be a little slower. Who knows if that? Who knows what that is?
I saw a message from another company that said DHL would be fine with them shipping, and they were approved already. So I think it's kind of all over the place.
It sounds like Blunty, the effect is shaking out, and it is not like some people were worried that it would be just an across-the-board ban. The FPV drone supply from China would completely dry up, and basically the hobby would be dead. That hasn't happened. This shouldn't really be a surprise. But also it seems like there's no sort of across-the-board answer. Everyone is sort of trying to figure it out, and it hasn't settled out yet. But it is having an effect. It is having an effect. I think, does that seem right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, that is going to bring us to the end of the live stream. Oh my goodness. Well, suffice it to say, there's a lot that the Russian invasion of Ukraine is messing up, other than our hobby. Godspeed. Our hobby is the least of the things that have been messed up by this. Let's get our priorities straight, please. Well, my priorities are straight. You do what you want with yours. That's going to do it for our stream. Thank you guys for being here. We'll see you tomorrow for the news, and every Sunday at 1 p.m., Monday at 8 p.m. for the Q&A. See you later, everybody. Night, Blunty.
Night.